I'm going to be gentle on you at least to start. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to select it to your screen, and then you're going to go to screen share, and you're going to pick the screen of whatever you have your images up in. We're going to go through them one by one, and I'm going to give you your scores. You have to have at least 5 points in order to pass the level 4 critique.
Okay.
You feel good?
Yep.
Okay. And then once we're done going through the critique, then we'll talk a little bit about where you are and where you want to be. That way we can keep kind of customizing the Arcanum JLark experience to kind of get you from where you are to where you're hoping to go on an individual basis. Sound good?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, girlfriend. I'm going to select on you, and I'm going to make you an admin too so that you can control what's going on. And then if you could just go and go up to screen share there. And then you're just going to select whatever screen. There you go. That'll work. Perfect. Okay. So let's start with you talking about the image and what you were trying to accomplish, where you feel you succeeded, where you feel you failed, etc. And then I'll give you my thoughts on it. Is there any way that you can bring that up just a little bit bigger? Probably not. Okay, that'll work.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, so this was from most of my sessions right now are trades with models because I'm new to the area, trying to get to know everybody. And this was the first part of a trade shoot with this particular model. We had talked for a little bit, and she had told me that some personal things about herself. And the reason that she connected to me was because of a series that I did about domestic violence, and she had gone through some difficult times herself, and she had moved to this part of the country recently to start her life over after that trauma. And she said that it was really a part of who she was, and she wanted an image of herself that showed her strength. And you know, knowing that she's still a little disheveled, she's not perfect like she is in most of her other modeling images, but she still wanted it to be beautiful. And of course, this is the first image she wanted to shoot, and I didn't know what to do. So I had her strip off her makeup and dunk her head under a faucet to get her hair all towel-y looking wet, and we sat over by the window and just talked, and I had her run her fingers through her hair until I was able to get this image.
Okay. Well, I do think that it's a very striking image. I like the darkness that leads into her face because people, well, I guess it depends on what country you're from, but America at least, like they read left to right. So it definitely just kind of pulls you in, and it's got this gravitational kind of force behind it that I really like. And you really have to have strong presence in order to connect with the camera and break that fourth wall, and she's just staring right through that photograph to the viewer, which I really like. There's a lot of emotion. It's really tight. I'm not sure if it's the retouching or if it's the screen, because I know we have to be a little bit forgiving as far as quality, but for me, a little bit of the lighting on the cheek, you have this like almost Rembrandt thing going on, but it's so splotchy that it's just making it look sort of like a poorly done texture overlay. I don't mind that you didn't clean up her skin and make it, you know, pure and clean and CoverGirl because it's a darker image, but I think the contrast is a little bit too choppy, and that it could have still had that kind of impact and been very stark, but had just a little bit more flow to it, if that makes sense. I do like all of the hair all over. I like that you left a lot of the blemishes on her skin because of the quality of the image. It's just, it's dark and it's powerful. It's a really good photo. I don't really have too much critique. Her hand in it, I like that it's in her hair, but I think that it's overpowering just a little bit with the wrist
Okay.
right here just because of the thickness of it. And that's always a problem when you're shooting hands near the face. So the best way that I have found to combat that is rather than having it right at her face, to just bring it back just a little bit. And then instead of having her elbow forward or straight down, you want to actually pull that elbow back a little bit too. And then that pulls it away from the view to make sure that her face is what you're looking at and not her hand. Does that make sense?
Yes, that does. I was
Okay.
actually having problems with her hand because we were in the windowsill, so we're like sitting in this little windowsill trying to take this picture.
Hmm.
I have to
Yeah, and
definitely figure out better logistics.
sometimes you just have to work with the space and what you have, but that's my only critique. So I'm gonna actually give you a 3 for this one because I think it's really strong for where your talent and ability is right now. So well done.
Yay!
Okay, next image.
All right.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about this one.
This was shot right after sunset, in the middle of summer. The I lived at the beach, and I wanted to do an image about the transitions between the seasons and perspective and how people look at things. And so this image was about you see this girl by the edge of the water, and you see the trees in the back, and they're dead looking, which they actually are dead. And they're very strong. And if you, as a person, you look at the image, your eye is kind of drawn to those trees, and you kind of almost the girl supposed to fade out of the image, even though she has the strongest colors. But the fact is that she's a child, and she's not supposed to fade out of your view. But if you look at the child and pay attention to her, the trees kind of fade away, and so the world fades away around her, just like she's not paying attention to anybody. And so her whole world is fading except of what's in front of her, and you purposely can't see that.
Mm. I like the composition of it as a whole. I need you to repeat after me. I, Ava Bach,
I, Ava Bach,
will not do spot coloring.
will not do spot coloring.
Yeah. I'm it's just it just doesn't work. Spot coloring, and I one day I will show you all my spot coloring photos from early on. But it's a gimmick, it's a trick, and there are some clients that love it and beg me for it, and I won't do it anymore. There is a way to make her the focus without making her the only thing that has any kind of stark coloring. So either it's going to be a black and white or a toned down image, or it's not. You make the focus her by depth of field, by lighting and vignetting, and centering her as the focus with the sharpness and the contrast and making her the most prominent thing visually. Spot coloring is a last ditch effort because you didn't get it right when you shot it. So that's a no-go for me.
Okay.
I do love the horizon line and the mirror effect of the trees on both sides. I like how small she is. I might have actually moved her either dead center or over even further to the left and made it very, very stark so that the whole image was leading away from her, because then she would have been the first thing. And again, that leading left to right, if she's the first thing or if she's the last thing, that is where your eye will rest on the image. Right now, it kind of, in order to take in the whole photo, it kind of comes to her and goes, okay, subject, but then it has to keep going to view the image as a whole. So I think you actually lose that a little bit. I'm
Okay.
not particularly fond of whatever she's dressed in, and she's so far away that it's hard to see, but she's got like this blue shirt and it looks like sneakers on, and she's so small in the overall um, scale of the photo that you lose a lot of her pose because she's so dark
Mm-hmm.
with her clothing that you can't really tell. Like, you can tell that she's bent down, but you can't really see the form of her figure at all. She just becomes this little ball.
Well,
Um,
The only reason I did that is for her in particular. She was already beginning to show that she was, that she was female. And I was trying really hard to make this be like you couldn't really tell if it was a girl or if it was just a boy with long hair.
Hmm.
And I didn't know. I mean, her sweatshirt wasn't one of those baggy sweatshirts that would have hid her figure.
Hmm.
So I didn't know what to do. So that was kind of like a last ditch. Okay, well, kneel this way so we can't see your figure type
Right.
thing.
Right, and sometimes you just got to work with it, but you as the photographer, you are also the art director. So it's your job to make sure that if this is your vision and what you're going for, that you are educating them on what they should be bringing as far as wardrobe and what the look is like. And some of that's pre-planning, and I have plenty of shoots that I go out on, and the shot that ends up being my favorite was not something that I imagined at the beginning or the conception. It was just something I saw from somewhere we were or what we had.
Hmm.
But it's still on you, and I think that there were other ways that you, um, even if the pose wasn't necessarily different right now, the pose just doesn't make sense for me because I can't read it. The black of her clothes just makes it a blob. So I can't really tell where her legs are and where her arms are and what's her stomach. Like there still has to be some light there. And that may have been artificial light or it may be dodging and burning, but you have to pull some separation so that there's still a body there and not just a beam. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yes.
Um, but overall, I do think that it has promise. There's a couple of other really little things, like off to the right, there's like this one really dark spot on the horizon, and you can see there's like two darker spots in the trees, and it just gives this like dotted line up and down. That really bothers me. I would have edited that out.
Okay.
Um, Other than that, I really like the idea as a concept. I just don't think you quite hit the mark right here, but I would love to see this be an image that you revisit and attempt to redo. So I think it shows promise,
Okay.
um, for sure, but it just missed it for me. So yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna leave that one. It shows promise because I know you can do better.
Okay. So the next one?
Yep. Okay, so tell me a little bit about this one.
Um, well, this is part of a series of images I did with my sister, the model Luna Vatra. We were exploring ideas of the mind and how ideas are formed and how they come out. And all the lines on her body were body painted by an artist following all of the lines of the nervous system in the body.
Mm,
And then her hair, the braids and whatnot, follow the some of the major blood vessels that surround the brain. Um, so we came up with this idea, this concept that ideas, like when you're actually thinking about an idea, if we were to see it being created in the creative part of your brain, what it would look like. And so this is what we came up with.
very cool as a concept. I dig it. So I have to tell you something. I don't like your work. And I mean that in such a good way because this is not ever anything that I would consider shooting. My work is much more pretty and it's much more feminine, and that's how I see people. And some of the images that you've shared are just heart-wrenching because you have a little bit of a darker theme, and you have this unique ability to photograph women in a way that is not necessarily flattering, but because of that, it is so stark that you cannot stop looking at the images. And that is a really, really profound gift because I would rather you create images like this that are so powerful and in your face, even if they're not appealing that it makes the viewer feel a little bit uneasy or uncomfortable looking at it, but they don't want to stop looking at it. Like that's like an obsessive reaction to art, and that's what you're always looking for. So I think that you're really, really on par with that. As far as the image itself goes, I can't I can't decide if I love or hate the fact that it's so blown out. It's a little bit of both for me. I think that you lost it just a little bit. Like I'm fine with the light falling off of her and the fact that you don't really see her legs and she's kind of like this hips up floating figure, and that she kind of fades in up to her face. I'd have liked to have seen just a little bit more definition, I think, along the front line under the rib cage and down her stomach and along the back line of her hips and across her bum. But and maybe just a little bit on the backs of the hands. Like if they're there, I feel like they should be there. Just a little bit more, just because you kind of really lose a lot of her midsection. Like her right now, her waistline and her stomach is actually about the same width apart as her shoulder. So it looks a little bit distorted, but I also think that that fits with this sort of emotionally distraught texture that comes to your work. I love the expression of her body language, and I love that it is all over her face. Um, that's really powerful, and it's really, really hard for most people to do. So I think that you just nailed it 100% on emotion right now. Um, I do. I really like this image. I think I might have cropped it in just a little bit closer because or widened it out a little bit more so that she was dead center on the image. Because right now she's just a little bit off, and there's so much negative space that I think if you're going to have that much, that it has to almost even out so that she becomes like the embryo of the shot and the center of it. But overall, this is an outstanding art piece as a photograph. This makes you an artist, not a photographer for me. So I'm going to give you exemplary and give you 3 for this one.
Yay!
Next one. Okay, so tell me about this one.
Um, this is the first levitation I ever did. The guy in the photo is a friend of mine who's also a photographer, and we had come over together and we were trying to experiment with new ideas. And I have the chase that you see is apparently the most comfortable bed that anyone who's ever come to my house has slept on.
Okay.
And so every time they come over, they fight over the chase, who gets to sleep there, because it's so apparently great. And so I came up with this idea that if it's so amazing and that everyone, floats away to sleep, that that it would make a really good subject for a levitation image. And so this was the first one that we tried. We wanted to keep it kind of like looking like it hadn't been slept on because the person's floating on it, but I don't know. I really, for the first time, I like the way that it came out for my first levitation, and I definitely want to do more levitations in my work, but I don't see it as a strong image. It's just the only levitation I have, and I want to do more of them, so.
Okay, fair enough. So I like the concept in theory, as a composite shot. Now tell me a little bit about how you created this. When you shot him for it, where was he?
He was actually exactly in the position where he is now. If you were to take out the pillows and put a stool right at where the longest part of the sheet is hanging, that's where the stool was.
Okay. Was he out? He was outside though, or?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
This was all shot in my backyard, exactly where you see it.
Okay, so that's always a good thing for composites, because usually what gives the composites away is that people aren't paying close enough attention to matching the light. And the retouching on it lends itself to that, but especially along the top part of the sheet, it still looks cut out to me. It's not fitting. It doesn't look like it was actually there. It looks like it was cut and pasted on there. Um, Same thing with the arm. It's not his arm hanging down looks cut and pasted. It's not far enough removed from the bed um, to look genuine. So, like, just looking at it, and I can't, I don't do enough with composites to give you too much other than the fact that I know that shadows really help kind of lend themselves to grounding the images, and I might have done a little bit of a shadow on the actual inside of the arm too, just so that the shadow was actually translating to the pillow and creating a space um,
Okay.
between, because right now the arm just looks a little cut out to me. But overall, it's an okay photo. I'd like to have seen just a little bit more of the texture. You did really good along his body, but the part that's floating up, the highlights are blown out a little bit. I'd have liked to have kept a little bit more of that, and I think I would have liked to have seen it with just a little more of a shallow depth of field so that the leaves weren't quite so prominent, because there's so much detail and texture in them. And the bed is earthy, and he has a very earthy kind of skin tone that's kind of blending in, and you're losing him a little bit in the background and all of the visual information.
Okay.
So all I see when I first look at it is just the white of the sheet, not him. And he should be the focus. Everything else should be secondary anytime you do portraiture. So I'm going to give you a commendable for this one. I don't
Okay.
think you quite hit it, but you were close.
All right. And then, well, you know the story about this one. I went to the studio to shoot, and the only person that showed up was the assistant, and that's him, Michael. And he was sitting in the window. We were in Manhattan, and the backs of the buildings are very, very close, and they have these narrow alleyways. And he was distracted by something that was going on, like two people were arguing or something. And I was on the floor, and I started shooting, and that's what I got.
Okay. So I do like the idea of this image. I love the grittiness of the window pane, and that it's like this dirty warehouse kind of window. And I think it fits very well with him as the model. It's playing off of each other really nice. The light, especially like the rimming light on his arm and the knee, is really nice. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of the detail and him not fade into shadow completely, because you have it on the back of his hair, but then you completely lose it. There's no shoulder, back, or any other detail. So I might have tried to pull that out while I was shooting it. I probably would have just put a reflector up just to throw just a little bit of light on the other side and sever him from the background. But I do like the emotion of the shot a lot. I like the intensity of the pose. I think he looks exactly like you said, like he's distracted and looking out. There's a sense of longing in it that I really resonate with on the artistic level. So overall, it's a win for me, but I think that it could have used just a little bit more forethought into the technical side to bring a little bit of the light onto the other and kind of feature him prominently. Right now, he just kind of blends in and pulls out, and I don't think it quite works for this shot. So I'm going to give you commendable for it.
Okay.
So that's all five, right?
Yes.
Okay, so turn off the screen share so I can see your lovely face and see how flushed you are.
Yeah. Yay! There I am.
Yay! Okay, so how are you feeling? You were a little
Uh,
nervous when we turned on. You doing good?
yeah, I'm okay.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about how you're feeling in your career and with the Arcanum and what you're looking to do, where you are now as opposed to where you want to be.
Okay, well, I'm definitely at first I wasn't sure where I wanted to be or what I want to do, or I was just really confused and all over the place. My biggest issue has been that every time I've tried to do something professionally as an artist, I've only done one subject. So when I was painting, I just did painting, and now that I'm doing photography, I was just doing photography, and I felt unfulfilled. And so I realized that I don't want to just work with one medium, that I
Okay.
want to be an artist across the board, and I want to paint, and I want to sculpt, and I want to photograph, and I want to be a fine artist as a professional.
What would you like to be known for?
If I was going to be known for something, I would want to be known for the idea that my work presents as opposed to what medium I use, because I really want my ideas to be the same across the board. I don't want to paint something different than I shoot, if you know what I'm saying there.
Okay.
And so I really, it seems like my work is always talking about the different things that happen to people, different feelings and emotions or states that they go through, that I kind of think that everybody goes through, but nobody really talks about.
Hmm.
And so that's kind of where more and more my focus has gone to with my artwork, even though I didn't realize it. And then ever since I've been in the Arcanum and dealing with everybody in the Arcanum, that has definitely become a definitely been pushed to the forefront that yes, this is what you're supposed to be doing, Ava, go do it. So
Good. Well, it's good that's reinforcing, and that's really, I think, when Trey and Peter and Curtis got together and really built this concept, that was the idea, was that it put you in a group with, other people that were the same mind as you, and that's the benefit of having the masters pick them, is that we pick people that we feel resonate with us, so chances are that you will resonate with each other. And I'm really excited on that level that all of you have bonded so deeply. It's tough when I miss a day and I come back and there's 850 messages in the group, but I love that you guys have kind of built this art family from around the world. And I want you to keep holding to that, and I want them to keep pushing you in that, and that it makes me really happy to see that, because I think that of all of the apprentices in the Arcanum, that you have a powerful emotional message in your work.
thank
You
you.
are you are centering in and bringing to light things that are difficult and things that are painful and things that resonate with you on a really deep level as an artist, but that affect the people that view your images, because it speaks to them on deeper levels than they can give words to. And that is a very powerful thing. And therein lies the purpose within your passion. So you owe it not only to yourself, but to everybody else that has suffered the same kind of heartache and the same kind of struggles, to be able to give them something that resonates with them on that level. And I know that you can do it. And I know that that's really tough. And it is hard for artists to tap into that, because our work is so personal and we feel things so deeply by nature. And to be able to take that and put that into something, it's there in your work. All that emotion and all that rawness and all that struggle and that strife and that pain and the beauty of that is all there in every single image of yours. I see it very, very prominently. And I think that as you go on with your training towards the technical and the visual mastery of it, that it will become a language that you speak fluently that nobody's going to be able to ignore. Um, so what I want you to do is I want you to start thinking about what that message is. And I don't care. I'm teaching you photography, but I don't care if you say it in a painting or you say it in a photograph or you say it with clay or with pencils or with a poem or with freaking flower arrangements. Just fucking say it. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on the public cast, but I'm gonna say it anyway. You
Well,
know?
that's kind of, I think that's kind of where that statement that I sent you came from, because that really resonates with me, because it describes on a level how I literally want to visually translate the things that I see. I want to show how they interact with the world around us, whether it is through whether they feel like they're flying or whether they're actually in water. And I learn underwater photography, which is one of the things I want to learn. If it doesn't matter to me, because I think that we're too disconnected. And I think that when I look at art and I look at the things that people do, that they're missing something. And I want to bridge that connection. I'm just afraid that nobody wants to hear what I have to say. I'm sorry.
I know we're like hitting some really, really deep chords right now. But I think that that's really good, because here's the thing is that there are going to be people that are going to look at it and they're not going to understand the message. And the reason why is because they have not experienced what you have and they have not felt what you have, so the message doesn't resonate. But here's the thing is that somewhere on the other side of one of your art pieces is someone that knows exactly what you're feeling right now and has gone through exactly what you have gone through in your life, that has enveloped you to be able to see that. And that is when art becomes powerful, because you have the ability to change the way that that person sees not only your art, but themselves. You know, every portrait, every piece of art that you are creating, this emotion, and I know it hurts, and I know it's been tough for you, and I know it puts you on a very vulnerable level, but if you can keep finding the courage to dig into that, and I think that with technical proficiency and visual and feeling confident about yourself as just as the visual artist and the ability to execute it visually will give you the confidence to tap into that, and it'll make it even more potent. When you tap into that, what you create ceases to be a photograph, and it ceases to be a sculpture, and it ceases to be a painting, and it becomes this deep connection between yourself and the people that you create it with and the visual, and it becomes a self-portrait of you, but it also becomes a self-portrait for the people that are looking at that. And you, the same way that in level one we picked an image that defines us and tells us who we are, and you listen to everybody else tell you what they saw about you, and there were things that you went, yeah, that's what I was going for, and then there were other people that said something really profound that you were like, I didn't even know I put that in there. That's the connection between you and them. You and them now have this bond where this is something that you share, which is why they see it, because you can't recognize something that's not within you too. You have the ability to reach past the exterior and the skin, and your work is going to have this really emotional potency to it that a lot of artists don't have, but it is going to fucking rip your heart apart while you're creating it. And it's going to make you cry, and it's going to be really hard, and it's going to be very, very vulnerable, and that is the plight of the artist. So if you want to do this, and you want to create this kind of art, and you want to create things that move people, and that is your passion and where you're drawing from, then that is the cost of it, and it is not for everyone, but I do think that it's for you.
Thank you.
That's it. I'm not going to make you cry anymore, I promise.
Okay.
So, you know, pulling it back up a level then and back towards the business, because it's very easy for me to get in that place with you, because I'm very passionate about the artistry and the artist.
Yeah.
Once you get to that, then the idea is that you do still want this to support you because this is your passion.
Yes.
You know, so it's great to draw from this powerful, deep place and speak to people and move them, but you do still need that to translate to a business side. So the next step would be for you to really start focusing on, if I am creating this, who am I creating it for? Looking at it from the outside, I see two options. I see people that look at your work and are moved by it, where the image of the girl in the creative process, the white one that I really love and hate, you know, that those, because it's powerful either way, and that's what's powerful about that is that nobody is going to feel neutral about it. Nobody's going to go, meh. People are either going to love that photo or they're going to hate it, but they're going to have a passionate, almost violent reaction to it. And I think you have the ability to create that in your work, and those are always the artists that live forever. They are, like nobody feels blasé about any of the great artists that are hundreds and thousands of years. They have an emotional connection to it or aversion to it. That's what you're looking to create. The worst thing that can possibly happen to somebody goes, yeah, it's okay. I would rather somebody hate and despise it and tell me it's awful than be like, meh.
I totally get that.
Yeah. So you're always looking for that. So every time somebody's like, I freaking hate your work, I think it's ridiculous and it's just not good, you go, yes, it's awesome. Please keep hating my work. At the same time, start considering whether what you're doing is towards a client that you're working with, where you're photographing these women that you have that connection with and that speaks to, because that can be a really therapeutic experience for them as a portrait session, and you can not only resonate with them, but that can be really healing for people too, if they've gone through that, to take that and have that form of art therapy that they can go. I have no doubt that you can change lives on an individual basis is that way, if that personal connection is important to you. The other thing is that you bring the people in and you create the things from within you, and they are the subject, but really they're just models that you're playing with to create the visions that are within you, and the connection is not with them, but it's with the people that see the images that it resonates with on this visceral level. And that's the other thing. So you have the clients that can pay for the session and the experience, and they come in and they invest in you to create this experience for them and to take these images home. But you could also do it from fine portraiture standards, where once those images are created, they're signing model releases so that you can sell them as fine art, so that it can go out to the world, and then your client becomes the people that buy the arts, and they become art collectors of this because they want to be moved by what you have to say. And I promise you that if you can tap into where you are right now every time you create, nobody's not going to want to hear what you have to say.
Well, the second part was closer to where I've been hoping where I want to go. I just don't know how to get there, where the people are signing model releases and we're creating this work and it's fine art that people purchase. I don't know how to get there. I don't know. Yes, I just don't know how to get there.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Ideally, with people buying your artwork, where are they buying them from? Are you putting together books? Are you doing gallery shows? Are you just selling online?
Well, I've tried all of the above.
Don't worry about
And
what you tried. Worry about what you want right now. Let's say I'm your fairy godmother and I'm going to make everything happen for you. You're about to go to the ball. What does it look like for you? What's the ideal scenario?
the ideal scenario would be to have galleries sell my work.
Okay. So, and you said you've tried that before, so let's talk a little bit about that experience real quick.
The most galleries will not hold my work. They tell me that it doesn't suit their viewer base, that it's too intense, that it's not the right subject. Lots of excuses. The only place that did take me ended up closing down.
Okay.
So, and it wasn't because they loved my work and it was the only place that my work ever sold.
Uh-huh.
It just was not supported enough by the community to continue, and the person did not restart a gallery somewhere else.
Okay. So let's talk about the other galleries. How was that looking as a business proposition? What was it? You went to the gallery and the gallery said, if they would have picked you up, how does that work for you?
If they had picked me up, then it's a commission base. So I would only work with them. I would produce a certain number of works, and then they would sell those works, and I would get my commission off of those works. But they would do all of the selling and promotion and whatnot for me.
Okay. So do you need that?
That would be very helpful, yes.
Okay. Have you considered possibly looking towards an art agent or a really, really good salesperson to, or an assistant to handle, and maybe just renting a really beautiful building.
No.
Whoa. Ah, new ideas. I'm so excited. Okay, so I am a bit of a control freak, which I'm sure you have not gotten at all from your time spent with me. But I don't like to leave things to other people. I'm a little bit of an overachiever. It is the best and the worst thing about me as far as business and personal life. But here's what I would do. I don't like the word no, which is ironic because no was the first word I ever said when I was little, probably because people said it to me so much and I just repeated it. No. So I don't hear the word no because I have removed it from my vocabulary. So when people say no to me, all I hear is not yet. And
Okay.
you haven't found a way around it, you know? And I was teasing Trey and Peter and Curtis about it because I really wanted the Google Glasses so that I could live stream, and I kept bugging them about it, and I just basically told them I'm gonna keep asking you until you give in. So I went. Most of my success comes from pure stubbornness alone, and the fact that I will not take no for an answer. I will just fight to the death if I want it. If you want this that bad, then there is no such thing as no, because you have the ability to control where you are going. So if you're going to galleries and they're going, this isn't our client base, this isn't our work, and we don't want to do it, that would be fine for me. I would be disappointed. I would go home and consume wine and chocolate, and I would complain about it, and then I would worry about how do I get around this. I want to show my work in a gallery. The galleries that I have approached have said no. How do I show my work in a gallery setting? I would look at old buildings. I would look at event venues and wedding venues and things like that. And I would go and I would talk to all of the heads of those things and see what it would cost to rent it out for a day or a weekend, because it may not be something that they've thought about either. And you can probably rent the wall space. So the upside of that is that it totally changes the dynamic where a gallery accepts your work, and in most cases, they do all the promotion, and you actually get a minimal percentage. It's usually like between 15 and 25%, isn't it, of the sales?
Actually, it's closer to 50, but yeah.
Okay, so I guess it depends on which gallery and how prominent they are too.
Yeah.
And some of them I know it's a higher percentage, but you actually pay a rental fee to have your work in there as well. So on the upside of doing it that way, if you just rented a building or had a gallery, then you would have all of the profits from anything that sold. So then it would just be a matter of offsetting the cost. So let's say that you were going to rent a building for a weekend. You were going to find some cute little boutique downtown. A really wonderful restaurant would work. Like, there's just no end to the possibilities of the places that you could do this. And let's say, for the sake of conversation, that it was going to cost you $2,500 to rent it. I would then go and I would look at caterers, specifically businesses that are just starting up that I want to partner with. And I would tell them, look, you're going to give me a really good rate on a discount, and you're going to come in and you can cater whatever you want in terms of food, all of the things that you want to show off. These are all people that have money to spend because they're coming in to buy artwork, which is the most frivolous thing people can spend money on. There's absolutely no necessity for it in life. So it's the first thing that people cut out when their budgets start getting tight, because you can't eat it, you can't do anything with it. It's, some people do it as an investment thing for what it'll be worth in the future, but really, if you have to start cutting corners, those are the things that get cut. So people that are spending money have money to spend on it. So I would have a caterer. I would look into possibly a band or a DJ, and if I didn't have the ability to do that, I would rent speakers and I would build a custom guest list for the music ambiance. I would set the lights, I would hang the show, I would do one weekend and have it available. The other wonderful thing is that you have all of these possibilities online for next to nothing. So there's everything from eBay to your own website and gallery. I would also be networking heavily with any kind of nonprofit or organization that deals with abuse and domestic violence and any kind of issue that the people going through it are experiencing the same kind of emotional reaction you are, and I would talk to them about using it. There may be certain companies that would be interested in licensing your images because they're very powerful, you know, and they're looking to have that impact. When you start talking about abuse and you start talking about rape and you start talking about these things that we wish didn't exist in our world, you want people to have a visceral reaction, because our first instinct is to turn away from it and go, we don't want to discuss that. I don't want to think about that. you know so what do? It's like the Sarah McLachlan song with the dogs that, like, they're not real dogs. Dogs are always happy. These are like actors playing dogs. They look so depressed. And people are like, I can't listen to the commercial. Even Sarah McLachlan came on and said, I can't listen to that song anymore because all I think about is these poor depressed dogs, that are abused. But you want people to have that reaction, because when people feel that intensity, they change things. And that's where we start to get into the passion and the purpose, because the purpose is always in the passion. So if this is where you draw from to create your work, then that's where your purpose lies too, to be able to use that artistry and that gift to start changing things aside from people's perspectives. Because if you can affect that enough, then you can do that elsewhere. So there are all kinds of different ways you can do it. I would also look at partnering with an organization like a domestic abuse foundation, or a battered women's foundation or something like that, and I would donate a portion of the proceeds of all the sales, because then you can network with them and they can put your show out and your artwork out to everybody that they have on their mailing list. With bigger organizations, that is thousands upon thousands of people.
That's definitely something we would have to talk about, because I don't. Everything that you're saying to me is stuff that I've done and not done well. And so obviously I'm not doing it right. And I don't know how to do it other than ways that fail.
Okay.
So I definitely need help in building those, in starting those connections and then building them.
Did you get to listen in on anything that I was talking about with Tom and Darn as far as networking goes?
Not Darn. I got the last half of Tom's, where you were talking about the people in the hotels.
Mm-hmm. So anytime that you are looking to build a relationship with someone, if you want that relationship to be valued by the other party, you have to bring more to it than you are expecting. And the problem is that with business and with relationships, most people come in going, what's in it for me? So there are two kinds of people in the world. Anytime that you establish a relationship or an introduction with someone, there are people that go, here I am, and people that go, there you are. The people that go, here I am, approach someone and go, hi, my name is Jess, and I heard that you run, one of the best maternity clinics in the entire tri-state area, and you have really high affluent women, and I do this beautiful maternity photography, and I would love to come and hang some of my work in your lobby, because I think that women would really appreciate it, and a lot of your clients would be interested in getting sessions done, and it would be some really beautiful artwork on the shelves, and I'd be willing to offer a discount and a gift certificate to your clients in order to do that. And all I said was, here's how you can help me. Did you hear that? What is really in it for them? Nothing. Oh, and it comes off as egotistical, because really what I said was, the benefit for you in our relationship is the fact that you can recommend me to your people. and like, that's how it's heard. And they go, no. And you're also one of probably 50 people that contacted them in the last year to do that, if not in the last month. So it's totally different to do that than if I approach someone and say, listen, I'm a photographer. My name is Ava, and here is a link to some of my work. And you never provide links. If you want people to pay attention, you mail them something. You put a packet together and you mail it, and you find the right person to send it to. Because people don't get mail anymore. Email is too easy, it's non-committed, and it's no effort. And they know that you're probably sending it out to 50 people. So I would pick the most powerful image that I have, and you were asking what to do with that thing that you sent me. I would reword that to fit, and I would put that on the other side. And I would reach out to them and I would say, listen, my name is Ava. I'm a local artist. I feel very, very passionately and intensely about domestic abuse and, you know, however you want to word it as far as these things. I really, really think that my artistry and your message would be a very good connection as far as visually affecting the people that you are trying to reach to get to, you know, get involved in your organization and donate so that you can keep making the difference that you are making in the lives of these women. And I would like to help. How can I do that? Do you hear the difference in how that came off of this is me saying that what you are doing is working and I want to help you? How can I assist you in your effort and your mission and what you are going towards? I want to be supportive of that.
Okay.
You didn't ask them anything for yourself just yet. Okay? And then that becomes the kind of thing where they go, well, actually, you know, we're getting ready to deliver these 5,000 brochures, you know, to all of these different companies and people, and we're getting ready to do a fundraiser, and we could really use that. And you go, oh, great, awesome. Well, how would you feel about maybe inviting some of the girls that you work with to maybe come in for a session, complimentary, and I would like to shoot them and tell their story, because images sell everything, and their story, their referral of you and how you've helped, that will be much more potent if there's an image of them where they can see what it is that they're saying. Does that sound good to you? And they would go, oh, great, yeah, that sounds amazing. I have just the people. Or they would go, well, I don't know. And you would go, okay, well, what do you think would work? If you let them believe that it is their idea and they are creating it, people invest in what they're invested in. So if they are coming along and creating it with you, they are much more likely to invest in it. And the relationship gets built. And once the relationship gets built, here's the thing. Any company that I work with, my sponsors, stuff like that, I never ever approached them and asked them to be my sponsor. I was passionate about their product. And like, if you notice when I share my work on Google Plus, I always tag Sigma lenses and Canon and On One software and, you know, the things that I use because I believe in them and I use them personally. It's not a sales pitch. Some of them aren't even my sponsors, but I use them because I recommend them, and I know that the credibility of my reputation is improved by recommending them because they're good, solid products and companies. Okay. So it's the same thing. If you start to build that rapport, then when somebody goes, okay, I went in and I had this session with Ava and I did this thing and it was so healing for me, then the next person that comes in that goes, God, I just feel so wretched and I feel so worthless and I feel like I can't do that. And they go, oh my God, oh my God. I went and had this session with this girl, Ava, and she created this incredible image, and here it is. Look on my phone. That's what we created, and you should go see her because it'll be really healing for you. Or because these companies tend to, and organizations tend to network with each other and work with each other to see what's working. Oh my goodness, you guys are doing this benefit. Let me tell you, we had these fine art prints done of some of the girls that we were working with by this amazing artist, Ava Bock, and you should get in touch with her and commission her to do some work for you because her work's just phenomenal and it will definitely impact your people. And it just grows. It just organically, you know, expands into this thing, and you'll start seeing more and more people coming to it. As far as starting to get your name out there more, show the work. Show the work, show the work, show the work every single day. You know, every single day you should be shooting and having images to set aside. You show one piece every single day. Tell the stories behind it. Move people. Move people so they have the same reaction that you do when you're creating it. Move them to tears. Rip their fucking hearts out. Make it impossible for them to ignore, and I guarantee you that you will just explode in the next year or two because people will not be able to stop looking at your work. They will not be able to not pay attention to it. Whether it's ugly or it's pretty, whether it's nice or it's heart-wrenching, if you affect them and you move them, it'll get shared, it'll go viral, it'll move. People will find you organically, and maybe the first person that comes across it isn't the person, but they share it and they share it and they share it. And then you get to person 4, who was the person that you were supposed to connect with, that goes, by the way, I really love it, and I happen to have a gallery in New York that I would really like to feature all of your work in. It grows organically through other people. So move everyone around you, and then it'll filter through them, and it'll move the people around them, and it's just ripples in a pond. And we're going to keep working on that, you know, but by level 9, when you do your next round of critiques, I think you're going to be much closer to where you want to be.
Okay.
Okay. So take a deep breath. Go have a cookie, because this was really emotional for us both.
Yeah.
Do you have any other questions? How are you feeling?
Actually, I'm feeling surprisingly good for the fact that I feel like I'm gonna cry again, but it's a good cry.
Good.
So.
Say that again so they know I'm not torturing my apprentices.
It's a good cry, I promise.
Okay. Feeling good after your first critique?
Yes.
Is it a little more intense than you expected?
Oh yes.
Is it
But
good though?
it was definitely good. It was there were things that I didn't realize that you helped me see in my work, and there are other things that I needed confirmation on that I wasn't sure about, that, you know, that second set of artistic eyes definitely helped.
Okay. Good. I'm looking forward to it. Start planning. You want to create this kind of art and you want to do this, then start thinking and conceptualizing about what your portfolio looks like and what these images are going to be, so that we can start building them for the next critique at level 9.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, girlfriend. You did really well. I'm very proud of you.
Yay!
All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Yes, ma'am. Bye.
Bye.